Right. So we move to the next session, and I just want to introduce our keynote speakers for this afternoon. The first speaker will be the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, Minister Bornyakov. Thank you very much for being with us. The State Secretary for the Ministry of Digitalisation and Public Governance of Norway, Marianne Wilhelmsen, and our own Michael O'Flaherty, our Human Rights Commissioner, is very happy to see you here. So without further ado, allow me to give the floor to the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine for his keynote address. Deputy Minister, you have the floor.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to represent Ukraine today here in Strasbourg, in the heart of democracy, if I may. So the year 2025 marks a milestone in Ukrainian-European relationships. In October, we're going to celebrate 13th anniversary as a member of Council of Europe. Throughout these years, we have worked together to protect human rights. And for 11 of those years, Ukraine has paid a high price for choosing to be together with Europe at the cost of our people's lives. In 2022, Russia started a full-scale invasion in Ukraine and been committing genocide actually in Europe. According to UN, more than 12,000 people, civilian people, have been killed. And I think that the real number is much, much bigger. Saying this, Ukraine has become an outpost for the whole Europe. And in this battle for survival, our most powerful weapon is innovation. Today, technology helps Ukraine to defend our fundamental rights, the right to live, our freedom, and self-determination. However, the world is evolving, and over the past 2 years, we have witnessed a huge boom in AI innovation. Artificial intelligence offers tremendous power and new opportunities to strengthen national defense capabilities, grow the economy, and maintain global technological leadership. At the same time, we cannot ignore the growing threats to the rights of the citizen posed by AI, and I totally agree with Michael. And discrimination, data privacy violations, and disinformation. All these challenges are particularly relevant for Ukrainians in the context of Russia's information war. Nevertheless, artificial intelligence will soon become part of Ukrainian public services. AI assistants will be introduced in the state app Dia and the educational app Maria, which are used by millions of Ukrainians. Particularly, there's been more than 22 million of Ukrainians been using this app for now. And our ministry has already begun using AI tool to draft and analyze regulations. What once took weeks and now can take around 72 hours. We're also developing a tool for translating and analyzing European legislation to accelerate European integration process. That's a huge amount of documents that AI can help us to translate and to adapt to Ukrainian law so we can speed up the integration. And it's just the beginning. We have an ambitious goal. And mission is to make Ukraine one of the top 3 countries in AI development and integration into public sector by 2030. And we're currently working on national strategy for development of artificial intelligence in Ukraine, and it will serve as a primary document for the strategic AI development in our country. We have also launched Win-Win AI Center of Excellence as a key driver of AI integration in Ukraine and its mission to enhance the practical application of artificial intelligence in all key areas: public administration, defense, science, education, and business. And one of their central goals of this year is to launch a national large language model, sovereign model. This will boost the emergence of AI solution in Ukraine. So, crucially, all these technologies must be safe for our citizens, and that's why we adopt European standards for AI products. But strict regulation can stifle innovation. We cannot allow this to happen in times of war, when technology is the backbone of Ukrainian economy and defense, and that's why we have chosen a soft approach to regulation. 1 year ago, Ukraine published a white paper on AI regulation based on bottom-up approach. This approach gives companies time to prepare to the new legal standards for AI. During the self-regulation period, the state provides companies with the soft law tools necessary to improve their ethics. For instance, Ukrainian companies are joining the AI self-regulation process. 15 market leaders have already signed voluntary code of conduct, establishing internal rules for the ethics use of AI products used by millions of people, not only Ukrainian, but globally. Because in Ukraine, we have a bunch of global AI companies, it appears so. In preparing Ukrainian businesses, we focus on European initiatives. One of the key frameworks for our developers is the Hudera methodology, which has been mentioned by Secretary General. And we already piloting it in Ukraine and looking forward for the formalization of the Hudera model by the Committee of AI to provide our stakeholders with the comprehensive impact assessment tool. We are pleased to announce that Ukraine will soon sign the Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights, Democracy, and Rule of Law. This will demonstrate that even amid a full-scale invasion, we stand with the democratic world, particularly in the field of innovation. There is more to come, and we are committing to strengthening our cooperation with Europe in digital technology. So innovation must become a key tool for protecting our citizens from threats worldwide. So together, Ukraine and Europe can build an innovative AI continent that's safe for our citizens. So that would be all from my side. I would like to thank Luxembourg for chairing this and all the members and inviting us here. It's really an honor. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Minister, thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation and also for showing that in spite of all the challenges that you're facing in your country, a lot is going on. If I'm allowed to make some publicity, I will a little bit say how actually very impressive is your tool called DIA, which allows really direct access to a large part of the Ukrainian population, to a number of public services that I've seen in action and that we are also using now in the context of our register of damage. So thank you very much for being here today. Now we are joined online by our State Secretary at the Ministry of Digitalisation and Public Governance, or Norway, Marianne Wilhelmsen. State Secretary, I see you already on the screen. You have the floor.
Thank you. Esteemed colleagues, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. I wish I could be there in person, but as Norway prepares for the upcoming IGF 2025, I look forward to welcoming many of you in June as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the IGF and seek to contribute to the WSIS Plus 20 review. Let me begin with expressing my gratitude to the Council of Europe in cooperation with the Luxembourg presidency of the Committees of Ministers for hosting this year's EuroDIG. It's fitting that we return to Strasbourg, the birthplace of EuroDIG, in 2008. 17 years ago, this forum was founded on a simple yet powerful idea that the internet as a global commons must be shaped by few, not by few, but by all. Since then, the internet has transformed our world. From the early days of the Web 2.0 to the rise of blockchain, artificial intelligence, and immersive technologies, we have seen innovation reshape how we live, work, and connect. The internet was a lifeline during the pandemic, an essential infrastructure that kept our societies functioning, our children learning, and our communities connected. Through it all, EuroDIG has remained a vital platform for all, not just to talk, but to listen, to learn, and to act. But we see a turning point now. The open, global, interoperable internet that has empowered billions is under pressure. We are witnessing increasing fragmentation and a surge, widening digital divides, and a surge in efforts to control and restrict access. Concerns over online harms affecting children, youths, and vulnerable groups are growing. Disinformation campaigns are eroding trust, internet shutdowns are being used as a tools of repression, and AI systems are being deployed without transparency. And when it comes to AI, we are even only at the beginning of this technology's development. We must not take the internet for granted. The internet has become the infrastructure of our democracies. the engine of our economies and a central part of our daily lives. And like any infrastructure, it must be maintained, protected, and governed with care. For this year's EuroDIG, we gather under the theme Safeguarding Human Rights by Balancing Regulation and Innovation. This indeed captures the essence of this challenge. Innovation cannot come at the cost of fundamental rights. Our approach must be clearly human-centric. Technology must serve humanity, not the other way around. At the same time, we must avoid regulation that stifles creativity, entrepreneurship, and access. This balance is delicate but essential. For this reason, Norway announced our candidacy to host the Internet Governance Forum back in 2023. We want to share our insights with the global community, foster dialogues and engagements to collaboratively find solutions. For those new to the field of Internet governance like myself, it can seem a little bit complex, a web of actors, acronyms, and meetings. But when we step back, what we see is grassroots democracy in action. We see a model that begins with local dialogue, builds through regional collaboration, and culminates in global consensus. The multi-stakeholder model is a principle. It reflects the democratic values we hold dear: participation, transparency, accountability, and respect for human rights. Norway sees this model as the cornerstone of internet governance, and we believe it's more important than ever to support and strengthen it. Because technology development is not without risk, the current debates around AI, the normalization of internet shutdowns, the spread of disinformation are not abstract concerns. They are real threats to our democratic institutions and the rights of individuals. We must establish frameworks that ensure responsible technological innovation and development that upholds privacy, protect human rights, and promote trust. Human rights must be protected online just as they are offline. This is why internet governance matters more than ever. In the digital age, democracy must extend to the code we write, the platforms we build, and the policies we enact. And that means defending and strengthening the governance structures that allow diverse voices to be heard, especially those of marginalized communities and the next generations of digital citizens. Norway wishes to contribute to further develop the support the IGF as a vital and inclusive arena of all stakeholders. After all, the internet should be a place where all individuals can exercise their civil, political, economical, social, and cultural rights. Norway remains dedicated to preserving and promoting these rights in the digital realm. EuroDIG, as a European regional IGF, plays a crucial role in this effort. It brings local and national perspectives to the global stage. It facilitates dialogues on how digital technologies can help us address our most pressing challenges, from freedom of expression and child protection to sustainability and inclusion, which are some of the themes on the program. We should develop policies and practices that ensure that the internet remains a force for positive change, innovation, global connectivity, and just progress. The impact of the internet has never been more significant. It stands at the heart of our digital future. Hence, we need to work together to develop and deliver a trustworthy and safe internet for mankind. Let us build a digital future that's inclusive, human-centric, and resilient. As we look ahead, it's crucial to recognize that the internet's role in our lives will only continue to grow. With the advent of new technologies, such as quantum computing and the expansion of the Internet of Things, the digital landscape will become even more complex and interconnected. This evolution presents both opportunities and challenges. Let's be proactive in addressing these challenges to ensure that the internet remains a space where innovation thrives while human rights are upheld. One of the key areas in Norway we're focusing on is on digitalization. Last year, we announced or launched our first national digitalization strategy. This strategy lays the foundation for a simpler and safer everyday life for people, for a more competitive business sector, and a more modern and efficient public sector. The goal is clear and bold. By 2030, Norway aims to be the world's most digitalized country. But we are not pursuing technology for its own sake, but rather using it as a powerful tool to unlock new opportunities and solve significant societal challenges. We will leverage digitalization to build a more inclusive society with less polarization, great opportunities, and high trust. Norway's strategy emphasizes the importance of digital competence for all citizens, ensuring that everyone can benefit from the technological advancements. It focuses on strengthening governance and coordination in the public sector and securing a future-oriented digital infrastructure and promoting data-driven innovation. By fostering an inclusive digital environment, Norway aims to create a safer, fairer society where technology serves the people and enhances their quality of life. To ensure that technological advancements benefit society as a whole and do not increase existing inequalities, we need the internet and regional and international collaboration. No single country or organization can tackle these issues alone. We must work together across borders and sectors to develop comprehensive solutions that address the global nature of the internet. This includes fostering partnerships between governments, the private sector, civil society, and academia. By leveraging the expertise and resources of diverse stakeholders, we can create a more inclusive and effective approach to internet governance. As we gather here at EuroDIG 2025, the city where it all started, let us reaffirm our commitment to these principles. Let us work together to build a digital future that's inclusive, equitable, and sustainable. I look forward to hearing the outcomes of your discussions over the next few days and to continuing this important conversation in Norway in June at the IGF 2025. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you an insightful and enriching conversations.
Thank you very much, State Secretary, and thank you in particular for having made the virtual connection between EuroDIG here in Strasbourg and the upcoming IGF in Norway. Thanks for that. Without further ado, allow me to welcome and give the floor to our Commissioner for Human Rights, Michael O'Flaherty. Michael, the floor is yours. Just a quick word to say that we are very grateful to you for the support that you have shown to the work that we are doing on digital technologies generally, not just here in the internet governance sector, but also on AI, cybercrime, and many other areas. Thank you for being with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Gianluca, Ministers, Secretary General of EuroDIG, dear friends. Last Saturday, we watched as the newly elected Pope explained why he had chosen his name of Leo. He made reference to a predecessor of his, Leo XIII, and explained that that Pope had carried out his tasks in the context of the Second Great Industrial Revolution, and now Leo XIV must engage the Fourth Great Industrial Revolution, the revolution of AI. And in other words, he must engage the challenges of, and I quote, human dignity, justice, and labor. Now, Pope Leo has his faith-based tools to engage these great issues of society, but so do we have ours. And above all, we have the toolbox of human rights, the toolbox of the great laws and institutions which we have so carefully crafted since the Second World War. Now, a starting assumption when I make that statement is that we already have a lot of guidance in terms of the operation of the internet and of artificial intelligence. We have multiple treaties negotiated over years, all of which are binding on states. We have at the national level many instruments and bodies already in place to provide guidance in these contexts. We have privacy laws. We have the operation of privacy oversight bodies. In the EU, there is the GDPR. And even in the private sector, we have considerable existing human rights guidance for how business should do its work in every sector. I think above all else of the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights. So we're not operating in some kind of a terra nullius. But of course, we've long recognized that we do need dedicated instruments to engage with, to regulate the specific context of the internet and artificial intelligence. And that is the frame in which we've seen at least 3 very important initiatives, at least impacting from most of our states in recent years. The first is the negotiation in this House of the Framework Convention. And then in the EU setting, there is the AI Act and the Digital Services Act. But before I go any longer in praising such instruments, I have to engage the challenge behind the title for our conference, and previous speakers have done this as well. This increasingly loud rhetoric out there in society that somehow regulation gets in the way of innovation, and the time has come to talk less about regulation and more about innovation. And there's a context for all of this, that somehow Europe lags behind the rest of the world, and if it wasn't so besotted with regulation, it would be so much more successful. Well, I take the opportunity this afternoon to absolutely, fundamentally, and without hesitation, refute that assertion. The bundle of myths that put together lead to those assumptions. Let me give you 4 reasons. The first is that our states have a duty to keep us safe. It's as simple as that. Wherever there is risk, our states have an obligation, be it under international human rights law or be it under any other body of law, to protect us. And they must protect us in the context of the areas we're discussing today, as with any other. But second, it's not just about protection. It's also about my conviction that safe technology is more trustworthy technology, and more trustworthy technology ultimately will win out, including commercially. I am confident of this, perhaps not immediately, perhaps not even in the medium term, but in the longer term. The safer the technology, the more of the pickup and the application and the use across the world. And third, the assumption that somehow we lag behind in Europe because of regulation is most loudly proclaimed by those who clearly pay no attention to the content of the regulation. Because the principal European instruments, and I've named them, are subtle, nimble, and well-attuned and full of the nuance necessary to avoid the risk of stifling innovation. Take the Framework Convention. The Framework Convention contains very powerful, important, essential principles, but then leaves a wide margin to states in how to actually deliver them, how to implement them, how to convert them into national regulation. That is not a stifling of innovation, that's a promoting of innovation. Look also at the AI Act of the European Union with its so-called risk pyramid. The risk pyramid is a very deliberately, carefully, and smartly designed method whereby most AI will not fall under a strict external oversight. Rather, its safety will be determined by self-regulation. And then the fourth and the final of my reasons to absolutely refute these false claims is because I simply don't buy into the zero-sum game. The idea that more regulation in Europe stifles European innovation and so forth. And I'm very glad that recent academic research supports my own gut instinct in this regard. And I'm particularly impressed by an important article published by Professor Anu Bradford of Columbia University just a few months ago. And she gave, and don't worry, I'll just name them, I won't go into detail, she gave 5 reasons of why Europe lags behind in innovation. That's not at issue. But what are the real reasons? And why is it not actually about regulation? Well, first, she mentioned the absence in Europe, and she's referring to the EU, of course, of a digital single market. Second, she points to the European reality that we have underdeveloped capital markets. You can't get the money to do the research. Third, she mentioned how in Europe, we in many countries have punitive bankruptcy laws, which make you reluctant to engage on risk. Fourth, she spoke to a more general cultural risk aversion on this continent, quite at odds with the culture of, let us say, the United States. And fifth, she referred to the manner by which we limit immigration into our countries and how that impedes access to the global talent market. And again, her assertion is that these 5 reasons are the base for Europe lagging behind, not regulation. And so, my friends, as I wrap up this afternoon, what I would call on us to do is not waste time on a regulation versus innovation reflection. Get rid of the zero-sum game approach, and let's focus instead on getting the best possible regulation. And forgive me, I like lists, and I will name just briefly 6 things we can do now. One is get the Framework Convention ratified. Get the sufficient number of ratifications in place so that it can come into force. Secondly, let's make sure that the EU does not lose its nerve. Let's make sure that it insists on full enforcement of the Digital Services Act. Third, As we move along the pathway to the coming into force in the EU of the AI Act, let's make sure that it is set up both at the EU level and at the member state of the EU level, whereby it will genuinely protect all of our human rights. And fourth of my five, we need to support the private sector to do its own self-regulation in the regulatory context. And here, one obvious need is to fill the space with codes. It helps the private sector develop the codes of practice to do the necessary self-regulation. It's already happening, but more is needed. And fifth and finally, we need smart, clever human rights assessment tools to be used both for regulation, external, and self-regulation. And here I'd like to join with the Secretary General and other speakers in a shout out for the Hudaria tool, which I believe is groundbreaking and will be of great importance. And the sixth and final of my observations about regulation is that it's not finished. We now have to confront artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence, and I suspect that our current regulatory models will not be up to the task. And so the examination of where we need to go next is no less an important one as how we deliver what we have now. And so as we engage these issues, let us, again, if I may paraphrase Professor Bradford, let's recalibrate a debate. Let's avoid false clashes between tech regulation and tech innovation. Let us show how we both can and must have both. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much, Human Rights Commissioner, for your words, for your encouragement, your very powerful message on the areas that we should all focus on as we move forward. It is a perfect end of the series of interventions which allow the participants really to enter into the various roundtable discussions. So allow me just to thank very warmly all our speakers, ministers for remaining here throughout these introductory speeches and for your interventions, and all of you for having listened. Of course, Secretary General for coming, and our EuroDIG partners for joining us here in these common efforts in the area of the governance of the internet. I stop here, and we will start now with the plenary session, which is dedicated to our parliamentary dimension. I'm very happy to see all our parliamentarians here already on the first row, ready to kick off the next session. Thank you very much, and I wish everybody a successful event. Thanks.